I'm going to tell you about two types of leaders. One type is ego-based. It's all about them. What's best for me? What's going to make me look good? What can others do for me? The second type is heart-based. Leaders who lead from the heart do so with purpose, empathy, and humility. Ego-based leaders are a dying breed. They are disappearing because the command and control, do this because I said so management style is no longer acceptable. Organizations have become more global, matrixed, diverse, technologically advanced, and competitive. Millennials make up more than half of the workforce, and their job satisfaction is directly linked to how emotionally connected they feel to the work and the manager. And because of social media, today every employee and customer has a bullhorn, and they are not afraid to use it. Today's successful leaders must lead through influence, not the power of their position. The ones that have the most influence lead with a sense of purpose, they show empathy, and they remain humble. They lead with heart. Look, it's easy to spot someone who leads with heart. They are mission driven, genuinely care about the welfare of others, and they put the organization's needs above their own. Unfortunately, many of the leaders you and I know fall short when it comes to leading with heart. But the good news is that ego-based leaders can learn to be more heart-based. I know this because as an executive coach and consultant, I've been helping all kinds of leaders be more effective for the last 25 years. Today, you'll hear stories about some of the leaders I've coached. Some had no idea what leading with heart meant. Some were, or still are, on the verge of embracing this new leadership style. And others have achieved a new level of success and have graciously allowed me to share their stories with you here today. You'll leave here with some new ideas for helping your leaders, with easy to use techniques that I've developed. And most of all, you'll understand the value of cultivating leadership based on purpose, empathy, and humility. I've told you I'm an executive coach, but when I was 5 years old, my odds of becoming a successful coach, or even holding down a full-time job, didn't look good. I failed kindergarten. Who fails kindergarten? Right? You think failing kindergarten would be easy or would be difficult. Not for me. It was actually easy for me. I was highly disruptive in the classroom and I couldn't sit still. By first grade, I was diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. You most likely know people with ADHD. We fidget, we talk too much, interrupt others, we're impatient, we're easily distracted. Oh yeah, and we tend to be disorganized and misplace things. Anyone you know coming to mind? Recently, I had lunch with a good friend and colleague, Ryan, or as his clients fondly call him, and get this, ADHD dude. Ryan is an international expert on ADHD and understands how ADHD affects the brain. Ryan told me that ADHD is not a mental health issue, it's a learning issue. A learning issue. That made total sense. Having ADHD didn't have to mean that I was destined to a life of failure. Success was possible. I could learn new ways of thinking, speaking, and behaving. After Ryan and I finished lunch, we walked on the beach. We were talking about how he teaches social skills to his clients. And then it hit me. I turned to him and said, oh my gosh, Ryan, that's exactly what I do as an executive coach. Look, I'm sharing this story with you today because as HR professionals, you also teach leaders you support how to think, speak, and act differently. And I would bet that you teach many of them how to lead with heart. Let me give you an example of what I mean. There's a leader I worked with almost 20 years ago. Let's call him Bob. Bob was a micromanager. He climbed the ranks because of his technical expertise and problem-solving skills, but he got so focused on the task and metrics that he lost sight of others' humanity. He came across as insensitive, demanding, and arrogant. How many of you know at least one person like Bob in your organization? If you could actually please type yes in the chat box if you know someone like Bob. You're pounding away, right? So we can pretty much like all of you, right? So thank you. So we can relate to this, right? So we all have the Bobs. So what do we do with these Bobs, right? So imagine this scenario, right? Imagine you're Bob, right? Bob reaches out to you one day because he believes one of his direct reports is broken. Of course, Bob doesn't say his employee is broken. No, he says, I have an employee who is incompetent and not carrying his weight. Also, Bob doesn't say, can you help me transition this employee? He says, help me get rid of him. So you're having this conversation with Bob and you're thinking, this is the 5th employee this year that isn't working out for Bob. Maybe the problem isn't the employees. Maybe the problem is, well, Bob. This is a tough situation though, right? Because he is your internal client. Your role is to support Bob, not tell him he's wrong. So what do? But the truth is, Bob's employee isn't broken and neither is Bob. If your Bob is like my Bob, he just hasn't figured out how to motivate people who are different than him. Bob could be more successful if he learned how to lead with more purpose, empathy, and humility. This brings us to the first tenet of leading with heart that I'd like to share today: purpose.